All right, back with a few more defensive use of a firearm stories for you. This is Chicago, Illinois. We have an adult male victim who was unharmed and an adult female suspect who was injured. And this looks like a home invasion. A CCL holder shot a female offender trying to enter his residence on Chicago's north side. Police say the male victim fired at the offender to prevent them from entering a home. The incident happened around 10:40 p.m. The offender was found with a gunshot wound to the wrist and chest and was transported to Illinois' Masonic Medical Center in good condition. A gun was recovered at the scene. Area 3 detectives are investigating the incident. So this is an incident with a female offender, and these women now are getting just as bad as the men. I would say a good portion, at least a third of the home invasions that I've done recently have had female offenders. And this time it's the female offender. She got shot, sounds like she's okay, but females aren't playing anymore. Let's see. Now we'll go to Houston, Texas. And again, every time I do one of these, there's one from Houston, Texas. And we got a victim who was injured. This looks like an exchange of gunfire. A pregnant woman is in the hospital after being shot 3 times when gunfire was exchanged at a liquor store. The shooting happened at Triple Crown Liquor just before 8 p.m. According to the Houston police, 2 masked men with firearms in hand got out of a vehicle and approached the liquor store. Police said the store clerk saw the suspects on the store's live feed and took out his own gun in self-defense. At some point, gunfire was exchanged, and the woman, who is 2 months pregnant, was shot 3 times. The woman was taken to the hospital where she is stable. Police are still working to determine if the woman was involved or an innocent bystander. It's unclear who fired the shots that ended up hitting her. At this point, it's hard to tell, they say. Police said the store had been the target of previous robberies, which is why the clerk was worried and took out his own gun. Authorities are still working on talking to witnesses and learning more about the wounded woman and the suspect. The store clerk was interviewed by the investigators overnight. Police do not have a good description of the masked suspects to share. So this is actually, whether they haven't decided if the woman was involved or not, but this is what kind of happens in these things. It's always just some innocent person that just happens to be there. That's the one that ends up getting shot, not the people that are involved. In the incident. All right, San Antonio, Texas. We got an adult male victim who was unharmed, and this is an acquaintance, another adult male suspect who was killed, showing domestic violence. Let's see. San Antonio police are investigating a shooting in the South Side neighborhood that may have been motivated by a love triangle. The shooting was reported shortly after 9 a.m., According to Chief McGuinness, a couple and a teenager were in the home when a man showed up at the door. McGuinness said the visitor was someone that the man in the home believed his partner was having a relationship with. The visitor, believed to be in his 20s or 30s, was armed with a handgun. The man inside the home, also in his 20s or 30s, was armed with a long gun. An altercation ensued between the men. The man in the home shot and killed the visitor. The shooter was taken to police custody for questioning. The incident was contained to the home, and there are no present threat to the neighborhood. Women, you got to be choosing the people you date a little bit better. If you got 2 guys that are willing to kill other people, you're not choosing the right people. You're dating one who's trying to protect himself and you that ends up killing the other one who thinks that he can just come over and, take that guy out and then you'll just be with him or something. I don't know. Women, you got to be a little bit smarter on these guys that you're choosing. All right, we got another Chicago. This is a 21-year-old female victim who was unharmed, a 61-year-old female victim unharmed, and a suspect. This one's got another significant other, current or former, an adult male who was injured and arrested. Okay, this is just a Chicago Police Department report, so this isn't going to read very well, but a known offender unlawfully gained entry into the residence at the above location. Once inside, the offender was met by the victim, 21 61-year-old female. A physical altercation ensued, at which time another victim, female, a 61-year-old female, who is a valid CCL holder, fired shots at the offender's direction, striking the offender. The offender sustained a gunshot wound to the back and was transported to the hospital where he was treated and released. The offender is in custody and charges are pending. This appears to be domestic in nature. So the 21-year-old, some dude she was dating, shows up at the house with a gun, and the other 61-year-old, her grandma maybe, ended up shooting that guy, and he was injured and arrested, so he wasn't killed in the whole ordeal. But again, women, who are these people you're dating? All right, another Chicago. This one's an adult male 26-year-old victim who was unharmed, and an adult male suspect, and this one looks like an armed robbery. A concealed carry holder shot and critically wounded an armed robber who pulled a gun on him and two other men early Wednesday in the Westridge neighborhood. About 3:33 a.m., the men were standing near the vehicle in the 2600 block of West Devon Avenue when the suspect approached them with a handgun and demanded their property. One of the men, 26-year-old concealed carry holder, pulled out his own gun and fired at the robber, striking him several times. The suspect was transported to the hospital in critical condition. Nobody else was reported injured in the shooting. Area 3 detectives are currently investigating. So this is the guy, the criminal tries to rob these guys, and a guy that's, licensed to carry, and in Chicago, that's not an easy feat. He's licensed to carry, and he pulled out his gun and he protected himself. And this is exactly what they're trying to make impossible for people to do these days. So let's go on to, we got Pottsville, Pennsylvania. We have an adult male, Patrick McGuinness, who was unharmed and arrested. That's our victim. So our victim was arrested in this one. And our suspect is 47-year-old Michael Bond. And he was killed in this incident. So we got Pottsville, PA. Patrick McGuinness told police he shot 47-year-old Michael Bond after Bond tried entering his home in Pottsville. But he's not charged with homicide so far, only for illegally owning the gun that led to Bond's death. McGuinness is now out after posting his $10,000 bail. Neighbors say they heard arguing leading up to the deadly shooting. So these guys are arguing, and this guy who is probably a felon because he's not supposed to have a gun, he ends up shooting this other guy fatally, and he gets arrested. They're calling it stand your ground. Oh, possession of a gun by felon or prohibited person. Yeah, they're calling it stand your ground. So he was arrested for illegally having a gun when he was probably a felon of some sort. And, but they're not charging him on the murder yet. That's in Pennsylvania. So at first, for a second, I was thinking we were still on all those Chicago ones we had. Well, that was the last one I had for you, but I'll be back with more defensive use in a few days. If the criminal does not fear the police, a judge, or prison, he must be taught to fear his victim.